Hey, well,
Just in time.
yeah, just in time. Uh, Welcome to our Solid Waste Committee meeting on May 5th, 2021. It is 7:01. At this time, I'd like to take a roll call. Marilyn,
Mr. Walsh,
present.
Mr. Jinks,
Here.
Mr. Belliver. We have a quorum, Mr.
Here.
Walsh.
Okay, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic
for
for which it stands, one nation,
Under God.
under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible,
With liberty and justice for all.
for all. Okay. Where did I go? Here I am. Okay, well, we have two things. One is executive session, which we will hold to the end of the meeting. But the first item on the agenda is discussion of the bulky trash pickup for this year. We had a discussion, Sean, during one of the council meetings, and about possibly using some of the American Rescue Plan funding towards bulky trash pickup. Sean, if you want to just go into that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I can just, again, we don't have any more information one way or the other in terms of definitive answers on the use of the RRP funds, but, anticipating that it may be something we can do and something I know the council is interested in discussing further, whether we can do a bulky waste pickup this late summer or fall. I think, tonight's meeting is to talk a little bit about what that might look like, some of the details on the timeline that we might, again, should the council move forward with this, what time frame we might want, some of the lessons we learned from 2 years ago. I have the report ready to queue up for some of the details. It might be good. I know we don't want to spend a ton of time, but talking about some of the issues we had last time, like collecting pianos and other things where we recommended maybe putting some tighter rules around and just a little discussion there. I know George is looking forward to that. So but otherwise, in terms of the actual grant funding eligibility, we don't have any more information than we had. We still anticipate by May 11th, we may have some more. But the one-time use combined with the amount of trash generated through people working from home and staying at home during lockdown seems to be a pretty likely to be eligible use, especially as a one-time fund, not supporting otherwise supporting the mill rate taxes. So I think with that, maybe if it's up to you, Don, how you'd like to proceed, but I could certainly walk through a little bit of the report and have George kind of give some of his feedback as to what happened this time only, about 2 years ago. So we have a little more recent memory in terms of some of the lessons learned.
Yeah, let's walk through the report. I think it's the best way to start so that we all have an understanding of what's involved and what the costs are going to be. And I mean, we haven't had any conversations with AJ yet in terms of what it would be. Have we yet?
A little. Well, we've had, and I'll let George speak. Am I muted? Oh, good. I can't see myself anymore. We have had a very preliminary discussion with AJ, not specifically around the disposal fees, which we know need to be negotiated, and we can talk a little bit about that either now or later. But we've touched on what we think it would probably be end up at, but some of the parameters around timeline, how much notice AJ would need, that's something I think George could probably touch on a little bit because he needs to procure the trucks, the specific trucks to do it. So we can't just give him 1 or 2 weeks notice. We need some reasonable time frame that George, maybe you can comment on a little bit. We've had that conversation just, I think, this past week.
Sure. Yeah, I had to speak to AJ about an unrelated matter, and I did mention to him that the council in one of their open budget meetings had discussed bulky waste, and just if he just wanted to start thinking about that in the fall, and we'd be back to him depending on the council's wishes. And as Sean said, it wasn't anything specific, but he did mention that he'd need a little bit of notice. He didn't give an idea, but I'm sure a couple months would be enough, just so he's got to get manpower and some trucks that will fill the bill there for bulky waste as opposed to the automated trucks he has now.
Okay. And I'm looking at this. So what I like to see is these special collections that we have throughout the year: the mattress collection, the electronics collection, and especially electronics. That seems like a lot, but I don't know. Is it the first event at Darcy where it was 38,000 pounds, and the second one at Cheshire High School is 19,000 pounds, but that saves on us as well with the in terms of the bulky trash. So we during the bulky trash show, we don't take mattresses or electronics anyway, right?
No, if you recall last time we timed it, and important to remind everybody, we timed the last one with the rollout of the automated trash program. So we were effectively, and I know Mr. Belvin remembers well, now limiting, if you will, folks' trash amount by what would fit in the can, or if they purchased an additional can. So the council at the time was cognizant of that fact and was looking to make sure we timed some of those special collections with the same time, assuming people would be having that one last chance to kind of clear out, the attic or the basement or whatever they needed to, so they wouldn't have to put that in their regular trash cans where there used to be no limit. Now there was going to be a limit with the automated. So we did time it to coincide. That's why it's referenced here. And I think that does speak, George could say, but I think that 38,000 pounds of electronics at the first event, I think in part that's because, again, people were cleaning out attics and basements and taking advantage of what they, either learned or knew wouldn't be picked up through bulky waste.
Well, prior to this, what was the last one before 2019?
It was a 5-year
2014. Yeah.
So I mean, if we do this now 2 years later, it may not be quite as much, but like I said during the council meeting, I said after seeing how many people were involved in this tag sale, a lot of people are cleaning out, and I spoke with Joanne Monroe, who organized the last tag sale thing, and she says she'd like to do one again in the fall, and she goes, if it coincides, she'd like to coincide it with the bulk trash pickup so that they do a townwide tag sale right before a bulk trash pickup, which would make a lot of sense, but it could add a lot more weight to the to what we're going to be doing too.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's a good point. It's hard to know whether that would help clear out, kind of like the pickers did, right? The metal reduced our amount. I would imagine, somebody's, what is it? One man's trash is another man's treasure, right? Somebody may be taking some of these things and rather than enter them into the waste stream, they get reused. You'll see that last time we did the collection from September 23rd, it says up here at the top, to November 1st. So yeah, in terms of timing any other kind of significant things, remember it doesn't happen in just 1 week. It ultimately takes about, what is it, George, about 6 weeks to get through, 5 to 6 weeks?
We budget 6 weeks and hope to be done in 5.
That's right. Yep. And you're right, Don, to your point, we did do it. It looks like, again, 04, 06 or 8 and are now, a number of years ago, I guess, but by doing them every 2 years there, you do see the lower tonnages of around 800 to 1,000. But I think COVID is a wild card, certainly this year, no matter what. So it's hard to predict.
Yeah. Dave or Jim, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that's going to be important, and I talked to some other people. Everywhere I go, people go, "Oh, you guys going to be doing bulky waste pickup this year?" I think that there is definitely a, although it's funny because we did it 2 years ago, but there's still obviously a lot of people who are accumulating in the last 2 years have accumulated more stuff, or they're cleaning out stuff, and so I think. I think probably we're going to be coming, even though it's only 2 years later, I think we're probably going to come fairly close to the number that we looked at 2 years ago. But still, I think there's definitely a demand for that. And I think we may come lower than that. And Don, it's a good point. I think if we, all of these things are important to try to coordinate because, mattresses, if we can have a mattress pickup, that gets some of them, the electronic stuff. That's helpful because people put the stuff, if they don't have a place to put it, they're going to put it out for bulky waste pickup, even if you tell them don't put it out. I mean, how many times when we were driving around did we see people putting out those large, 1990s style LCD, TVs that are, that were about, 3 4 feet tall by about 4 feet wide, that are on, that had their own platform, right? They're moving those things around and we're like, we can't take those things, but now they're out there and they're sitting in the rain and all this other stuff. So, I mean, if we give people an opportunity to get rid of some of that stuff, I think that's helpful. And Don, like the idea of a hopefully of a townwide tag sale may also be helpful because, right, some people, instead of throwing it right in the trash, they might at least have a chance for somebody else to pick it up and move it on. So it may save us some, but people are going to throw that stuff out anyway. So, hopefully at least, like as Sean had said, like people, if they come through and they go to these tag sales and they take some of this stuff, some of it may turn right around and go, oh, that was a really great buy I did last week at the tag sale. I'm throwing it out anyway. So some of it may just end up there anyway. But I think if you give people the opportunity to do that, I think that's a great idea. So, if we can make this happen, I think residents are going to be very excited about this because, they when they're home, they're looking around their house thinking, what can I get rid of? And there's a lot of stuff that they want to get rid of at this point. So, plus, there's probably been a lot of home improvement stuff that they've done in their house too. Now, obviously, some of that construction material isn't supposed to go in there, but there's a lot of things they've done around their house. They've refurnitured the house. They brought in, different stuff that now they've got to find a place for. So that couch that was okay for sitting on it a couple days on a weekend, now they're sitting on that couch 7 days a week, or they're sitting on stuff. They're realizing, wow, I really could use a better couch. So anyway, that's my thought on this. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Jim, do you have anything?
So a couple thoughts on this. Obviously we don't know yet whether or not we can use the funds for this. So that's a big question mark. But even if we can, I'm wondering. So I'm a little less. Obviously this was very successful. We did this 2 years ago, and I know people really loved it, and for good reason. I'm a little less convinced that there's a need for it so soon. I'm and just looking at my own experience, for example, we're a household of 6, and I don't think we have anything after 2 years, or in 2 years. I don't think we really have anything we would be looking to put into bulky waste necessarily. Certainly there are people that would. I'm not saying there isn't, but and we have the tag sales going on and other ways that people kind of recycle things. I wonder if there's a way if we did this, and we're potentially going to have a lot of ARP funds, and this like I said, this certainly could be one thing we could do with it. But I wonder if there's a way that we could do this where it gives people, rather than they have to do it this year when we have the event, if there's a way that we were to give residents like a voucher or something to use at the transfer station at some point over the next 2 or 3 years, that they give to the dump, and then the dump kind of redeems it with the town for a certain amount of money. So that way we're giving our residents a break when they go to bring, some of their stuff that they want to get rid of, whenever that may be. Obviously, the mechanics of that is a little bit more difficult. But I just wonder if we do this, I wonder if there's some way that we can do it that's maybe a little bit better for everyone that can take advantage of it, that maybe doesn't already have stuff they want to get rid of, which I think there's, I'm sure some people will want to get rid of some stuff, but it just seems pretty soon to be doing a townwide thing that I think a lot of people won't be able to take advantage of it.
Thanks. Well, for many years, I think we've done it every 2 years, and we stopped a while ago. But how I look at this is, if we gave a voucher to everybody who lives in this town and people don't use it, I could see a black market of vouchers being sold to people. Hey, I'll buy it for $20. I'm going to the dump, and that I think that could cost us a lot more money in that way, because not everybody puts stuff out, and if they don't have anything, they don't have anything. That's how the weight gets lower. But I think Sean, you could probably look into that if that's something that everybody wants to do. But that's just my opinion on that.
Just thinking of it as a way to try and reduce people's costs at the transfer station, because those costs are pretty significant right now.
That's another issue. I think that when we still $10 for a bag of leaves or something like that, or grass. I think that's kind of a high thing to do. But people can always bring it to our old transfer station on Mondays for free. So that's how we.
Jim, Jim, can I ask you a question? Are
Sure.
you when you say transfer station, do you mean the old town transfer station, like as set up a drop point there, or are you talking about AJ's?
I mean AJ.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
what I
mean
thought.
AJ.
I just want to make sure that's what you were thinking. Take it down to AJ's place there, where he has the recycling. Right, he has that recycling program. That's the CCRT or whatever it's called. But right, so you be thinking like a voucher for them, for someone to drop that off, so that whatever that would
Yeah,
be.
so they're not paying the fees that we would normally have to pay. They have some sort of
Right.
amount on a voucher from us that they could use at some point over the next, let's say 2 years. We can
Right.
certainly date it or something. Obviously, we would have to, but
Right.
it just, to me, it seems to give, we're cutting people's costs at the AJ waste station there, and we're also giving them an opportunity to take advantage of a sort of virtual townwide bulky pickup at a time that's more convenient to them.
Yeah, because I think AJ's currently charging like $30 for the first 200 pounds, and then it's a sliding scale going up from there. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I brought a relatively small amount of stuff there not too long ago, and it was $50. I mean, it was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, no, it does get a little pricey where other towns around us are a lot less expensive or free. So yeah, I think that's a topic for another day that we should probably look into as well. But thanks, Jim, for that. And plus, you remember, I mean, with the number of houses being bought and sold this past year, that is also opening up a lot more bulky trash that's going to need to be picked up too. So there's a number of reasons why we should do it. But I would say, maybe what we should do is get the numbers from AJ to see where they are, and then we could present it to the council once we know if it's eligible for that. And I know we had a discussion, well, what if it's not entirely all of it's eligible? What would we do? And I think I heard him say that Sean and Jim will find a way
Yeah.
somehow to make it up. But I think I think we should start with getting the numbers and then going from there.
Don, quick question for Sean. Sean, when we had the last conversation, I think is there a contractual provision in this year that did we put in the last contract that there's a contractual provision for what it might cost for this if we did one this year?
Yep. So for the first year contract signed at the end of 2018, there was a 2018 rate and there's a 2021 rate should the town want to do bulky waste. And it's $155,000 for 2021 for the collection, the actual, and then negotiable on the disposal. In 2018, that was set in the contract at $99, and 2021 was seen as negotiable. So
Okay.
I think we said the other day that we'd anticipate that's probably going to be a little higher in terms of the disposal cost than 99 a ton. But if the total tonnage is a little less than the kind of record tonnage we had last time, that's where my estimate is it'd still be around 300,000 as a little bit of a wash, but it is set forth in the contract as a town option.
Right. Right. So AJ's cost is fixed, but the disposal fee is negotiable. Okay.
Right. And that's not to say, it does say that any other year we could negotiate both of those terms. I mean,
Right.
we could
Absolutely.
say we're going to do it in 2022 and everything's negotiable. It just provided specifically for a little certainty that the collection rates were set for 2018 and 2021.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So anybody else have anything to add? All right. So I think right now we'll wait and see what comes on May 11th and see if it's something that we could do. And then we just need that second number from AJ to see what they'll charge us. And then we will be ready to present something to the council.
Yeah. And something to think about. We don't have to necessarily conclude right now on it, but I think like I said in the report, and I can email it around so everyone has a chance to get up to speed on it. And I don't know if George wants to add anything, but last time pianos was an issue, fencing was an issue, deck materials. So we may want, and again, that can be worked out, not tonight, but if we want to give some thought to whether we want to limit that, we ended up having to hire at additional cost, right? Specialized equipment to move, what was it, 7 or 9 pianos, something like that.
Yeah. I think it was 9.
It was 9. and it wasn't
Yeah.
cheap. Well, I mean, but you know, we saw also we had to pick up how many mattresses too, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have people that don't follow the rules, and then they sit there and they're getting full of rain, and then nobody will take them, and then ultimately the town is stuck either looking at ugly mattresses for 2 months or we just get rid of them. So just note that, you know, putting some tight rules around that is probably a good idea. Enforcing them is always going to be a challenge.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, in the category of kind of doing things according to kind of what we learned last time. I recall that with all the pickers that came through, I think that we had talked about if there was a way to sort of better promote kind of what neighborhoods or streets when they were going to be picked up, so that the pickers sort of knew best as to when to get there before we did, kind of thing. I thought that may be a way to reduce, you know, what we're processing. I don't know if there's anything we can necessarily do, but if there is, it's something we could think about as a way to just encourage more pickers to get stuff before we get there.
Yeah, George, you did that map when after the storm. So if you do the map after, like you did after the storm, when you were doing the storm pickup, I think that helped a lot because you kept putting it out there and saying, okay, here's where we are so far.
Sure. And we do the bulky waste by trash route. So that is well publicized, and it gives anybody you can get on the website, it certainly gives them a good look at that fifth of town that kind of vectors them in on that area. But to be fair, people put stuff out way early in the bulky waste process, which is normal, because if you have your kids home from college or whatever the case may be, you need help. And but people will put it out 5 weeks before it's going to be picked up too. So it's kind of catch as catch can.
Yeah, I think we have to get the message across that, listen, if we're not going to start early on your street, but this is when you should make sure you have your stuff out by this day. I mean, I think we have to stress that, because I talked to some people last time and they were saying, oh, well, I thought it all, I didn't want to miss it. And I'm like, well, if it said you're going to be picked up 4 weeks from this after the first one, then that's when you should put your stuff out. You know, so
Right.
people, I think maybe we could stress that. That could help from having people put stuff out for 4 weeks.
Right. Or make sure that you don't miss your week either. You know, we had times where people were putting stuff out after they'd already come down the street, and it's like, we're not, we don't want to have to turn around and come back, so that's the other issue we have too.
Okay.
Well, and just to piggyback on that, the other issue that was maybe a little less common, but kind of harder to solve, was people who said, well, I didn't put that flat screen TV in my driveway, somebody else did. And often you had the pickers sometimes would go through, they'd fill up their trailer and they'd say, oh my gosh, that's a really valuable thing. I don't have room for it. I'm going to take this ineligible stuff or this scrap metal. I'm going to swap out this. And so then Mrs. McGillicuddy's like, that's not even my flat screen. And I don't know what to tell you, or that's not my mattress. That just showed up in my lawn. That very hard to solve that problem. But we got that complaint a few times.
Yeah, no, that happened to me.
I
I had more garbage than I started with. I was like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
that happened to my mother, not this last one, but an earlier one. We were out there. It was funny. We were watching the guy see pickup truck. He sees something on my mom's lawn and was like, oh, I'll take that. But he didn't have any room. So he started taking stuff off the truck, put it on her lawn, and took this one out. We're like, okay. But hey, who knows? As long as it all disappears, I guess that's a start. So.
Okay. Well, I think we're set on that. Should we move to our executive session now, Sean?
Yep. Yeah. If there's no other discussion on that item.
Okay. No other discussion. So, I need a motion to move to our executive session discussion regarding strategy and negotiations with respect to pending claim on Covanta, to include our town attorney, Jeff Onofrio, Dave Elleber, Jim Jinks, Sean Kimball, Arnett, and is George joining us too on that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Just a technical issue. Sean, because I made you host, you need to stop the streaming. It won't let me stop.
Oh yeah. Okay. Stop live stream. That's probably the right button.
Okay. So we won't be coming back after our executive session.
So
John, do we don't have a motion yet.
We need a motion.
I'll move that executive session.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. There's your
All right.
motion, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, everybody.